So we are now almost or completely over with the chapter number 4, which discusses the fundamentals of discrete signals and their analysis. In order to see that the difficult contents become familiar to the students, I am trying to expose the students in a specially defined sequence wherein the main objective is that the students should understand. So from that point of view, we had introduced the concept of transform, wherein we were having one sequence. We specifically considered a finite length sequence and we performed some operations on that sequence and we generated alternative set of numbers. So from one set of numbers we generated alternate set of numbers. So I again repeat that transform is nothing but alternate representation of the original signal. The transform can be invertible or non-invertible. If transform is invertible, then there is 1:1 correspondence between the original signal or original sequence and its transform. If the transform is many to one, in that case it is not invertible, and more than one original sequences result into a single transform. Is it clear? So transform is an alternate representation of the original sequence, right? And obviously if we are having a finite sequence, in that case it is a very common sense solution that if the finite sequence consists of n numbers, then for the transform to be invertible, the necessary condition is that the transformed domain should also consist of n numbers. Is it clear? If my original sequence is consisting of n numbers, then it is necessary condition, not sufficient, that after transform I should get another set of n numbers. If it is less than n, in that case what is going to happen? That it would be leading to many to one. If it is more than n, then there will be some redundancy in the transformation. If there are n, then n is necessary, but only because that the original sequence of n points is transformed into another sequence of n points, that doesn't mean it is invertible. Say for example, what we have considered last time, I am trying my level best to introduce the fundamentals in such a manner that no hardship be faced by any individual in understanding these otherwise very difficult concepts. So let us say we have original sequence, say x of n is a 2-point sequence, say 2 and 1 what we have considered, right? Or to be more particular, x0 equal to 2, x1 equal to 1 was a 2-point sequence, right? Then I transform this 2-point sequence into S as x0 plus x1 and D as x0 minus x1, and these were 2 points. If I decide only to transform them into 1 point, then immediately this becomes a non-invertible transformation. From numbers I can get the sum, but from sum I can't get the numbers. From sum I can't get the numbers. So you essentially must have 2 numbers to represent the original 2 numbers in alternate form. So to represent original two variables which are real variables, means x0 and x1, these are its typical values. So they can be represented in the original form or in the transformed form. So when we are designing a transform, then the transform must have 2 points. If there is one, in that it is not invertible. But merely because there are 2 points, it doesn't become invertible. Let us say we can have one as s, which is x0 plus x1, and second I take as t, which is equal to 2x0 plus 2x1. This is 2x0 plus 2x1. What will happen?
Nothing.
So s is 3, t is 6.
6.
If the original numbers were 1 and 2 or 0 and 3, still same thing would have come. So existence of 2 points in the transform doesn't make it invertible automatically, because in that case means a matrix which is not square matrix is not invertible. But this doesn't mean that every square matrix is invertible. A non-square matrix is not invertible, whereas a square matrix may be invertible. If its mod is 0, then it is not invertible, right? So in that case, we should take care that we should ensure that the transform is invertible if we want to regain the original information back. But as stated last time, that there may be some transforms which are not invertible, and we may work with them, writing of pre-say, because the original redundancy is there that needs to be removed, that we don't want. Therefore, we may work in some situations with non-invertible transforms also. Is it clear? So this is the concept of transformation. Then one very important point which we would like to consider, that is somehow with the well-developed theory of complex numbers, even though there is nothing great about imaginary part of it. A complex number is considered to be a two-dimensional variable. A complex number is a two-dimensional variable and nothing more about it. Means when I take a variable and I want to plot that variable on a number line, if I am having a single dimensional variable x0, x1, maybe s, these are single dimensional variables in the sense that they can possess a single value, anything between minus infinity to infinity. So on a given line, it may map itself anywhere. It may map itself anywhere. But this single line representation or single dimensional representation may not be enough. Then there are two ways we can think of two single dimensional variables on mutually perpendicular, or in classical terms called as orthogonal dimensions, can be collectively represented, and they represent a point in a plane. They represent a point in a plane. So the position of a point, provided that it is restricted to be on a single line, is represented by a single number, or that we call as a real number. Position of a point on a restricted space of single line can be completely defined by a single real variable. Whereas if we want to define the position of a point by just relaxing the restrictions on the space, that instead of one dimension line, if ever we want to define or describe the position of a point in a plane, in that situation we need two real numbers to represent that. or it is an ordered pair, and for a point being single entity, a representation which is an ordered representation of two real variables is considered to be a single complex number. Why we are tempted to call it to be single complex number? It is because it is corresponding to the position of a single point. So a point on a line can be fully described by a single real number, whereas a point in a plane can be fully described by a single complex number. Actually, single complex number is nothing but an ordered set of two real numbers. And since it is ordered set, to say something first is called as real part, and to say something else second is called as imaginary part. There is nothing imaginary about it, there is nothing special about imaginary axis. And then further, with the well developed theory of the infinite series representation of e raised to x, sin x and cos x, it is more convenient to define e raised by an imaginary part. Then, so as to maintain the order appropriately in the operations of ordered pair, and so as to reduce the computation, remember complex number multiplication actually is to be done. How the complex number addition is defined? First number plus first number, second number plus second number. For multiplication, it's a complex definition. Then use of I or j into I or into j, that is j square equal to -1, is a convenient definition and is being used for complex number algebra, even for further complex number calculus in general. So it is only because it is a suitable representation we are using it. Nothing is complex there, nothing is imaginary there. And we also use e raised to j theta. So e raised to j theta is again a complex number. E raised to j theta is again a complex number or a two-dimensional number. So all these are the representations of a 2D space, and since ultimate point of interest means an ordered pair defines a point, so we define it by a point P1 is represented by a complex number C1. Since point is 1, we say it is one complex number. It means it is not one at all. Its position is defined by distance from two fundamental axes. So it is 2. Forcefully, it is being made 1 in a complex number. But that fitting is such a fitting wherein it is 1 but 2. So it has got two parts. So complex number is nothing but an ordered pair and nothing else. Right? So by using these well-developed theories, it is possible to cover many things. So e raised to j theta, last semester we had discussed something regarding applying a two-dimensional signal. Signals are not two-dimensional. Voltage signal, temperature and all those are one-dimensional signals only. So applying a two-dimensional signal merely remains an hypothesis. Right? But we can have a very effective manipulation wherein it can simplify our understanding. The signals are real in nature at the input and those are real in nature at the output. In between, for our convenience, we make them into a complex form. But as an actual physical variable, signals are never complex. It should be well kept in mind for the entire subject. Then, once this is very clear, we can assume that Xn is a sequence of numbers, and the numbers may include complex numbers also. The numbers may include complex numbers also, And in that situation, we can say that real number is a special case of complex number whose imaginary part is 0. So in general, every number in this subject is considered to be a complex number, right? And in most of the cases, its imaginary part is 0, so it converts itself into a real number. Is it clear? So the sequence is considered to be a complex number sequence now. Then obviously a complex number sequence of length capital N is actually a representation of 2n real numbers. A complex number of means if I have sequence which is having non-zero values for x0, x1, x2, x3, means how many numbers are there? 4. There are 4 non-zero samples, and each sample can be a complex number. So it is as good as 4 non-zero samples are completely defined by 8 different real numbers. That's all. So complex number is used as a convenient definition of representing 2 real numbers at a time. And we stick to this definition, we stick to all the arithmetic and the series identities for these complex and imaginary numbers, especially z square. Actually only 2 things you have to remember: z square equal to -1 and e raised to j theta is cos theta plus j sin theta. So once that is very much clear, there should not be any confusion at all. I hope it is quite enough now. Quite enough in this sense, quite enough for explaining the role of complex numbers in signals and systems. So after this, in a appropriate manner, we are talking of transforms. So we have been successful now in transforming one sequence into another sequence. But naturally, if we think of transforming a sequence of infinite length into another sequence, then this matrix logic may become somewhat inappropriate. Also, right now, a finite sequence is converted into another finite sequence. Similarly, an infinite sequence will be converted into another infinite sequence of discrete numbers only. But now we try in a different way. What this transform is right now, I will not elaborate. I will not elaborate what this transform is, and whether this transform means something or not, that I will leave up to you. So this is, and if you are able to figure out something from this, then we will conclude that the purpose of the transformation is understood by you. Means we start with some transform. Somehow you have literature with you. In the literature things are mentioned, so you become biased. And after some time there is a concept of pseudo understanding. Means the concept of pseudo understanding is that since it is given in the text, since the text is well known, you feel that you are understanding even though you have not understood, even though you have not understood at all. So in order to remove this pseudo understanding notion, we should unfold the contents of the syllabi in such a manner that you will not be getting a reference of those anywhere. And if you are able to still understand, then it is real understanding. So until now, we had discussed transforming of a sequence into another sequence, and just we have taken an example of transforming a finite sequence into another finite sequence by a square matrix. One sequence into another sequence by a square matrix that we have considered. Now in general we define a new transform wherein what we have got a sequence xn which is defined, which starts from 0, means before 0 all samples are non-zero, before 0 all samples are 0, and after 0 it may have all samples, maybe finite, maybe infinite. So xn exists for n equal to 0 onwards. Xn exists for n equal to 0 onwards, right? Then we may further proceed in a manner that xn can be a complex number. We now accept the fact that xn is a complex number. Means it is a ordered pair representation. It is a ordered pair representation. With xn to be complex number, things change in a very different way. Now, we want to transform this xn. Xn is a sequence of discrete numbers. If it is of infinite length, it is countably finite. Countably infinite, sorry. If it is of infinite length, it is countably infinite. It is not a continuous variable. Xn is not a continuous variable. You are noting the lecture? Then what we are having with us, a sequence starting from n equal to 0 till n equal to infinity, where n is an integer and xn is a complex number, maybe a real number at the beginning we can consider. Now we want to transform this representation. So xn is a representation. If it is a consider of real numbers, we can represent it using bar chart. We can represent it using bar chart. Bar chart is a chart. Bar chart is a chart in which the numbers are represented in the form of the bar, and it is not the chart put up in a bar. Consisting of menu and price.
सर ज़्यादा करते हैं glasses are here.
if it is xn is one dimensional or real. If it is complex, in that case, each line will be a plate, and on the plate there will be one point. It will be a plate, and on the plate it will be one point. On this plate, another point, like that. So in general, we are having a finite sequence. Sorry, we are having not a finite sequence. We are having a sequence of numbers which is discrete points. So we are having a sequence of distinct points. Each point is represented either by one or two real numbers, and we are having such infinite points. Now we want to transform this representation. We want to transform this representation of a sequence of infinite points. So xn is a sequence of infinite points wherein one point is either a one-dimensional variable or a two-dimensional variable. Now when it is to be transformed, it is not necessarily to be transformed as discrete points. I may think of a way with which I will try to transform it in a function of a continuous variable. I will try to transform it in a function of continuous variable. Let us say that y is such continuous variable. Y y is a continuous variable and y is a continuous two-dimensional variable. Y is a continuous two-dimensional variable means it can occupy any position in a 2D plane. Capital Y is a continuous two-dimensional variable. Or you need, they don't need of taking capital, we may take small also. Because to represent capital again. So we can have a concept of a plane in which y can exist. That is called as a y plane. We may have a concept of a plane in which the variable y can exist anywhere. So y is a continuous complex number. Y is a continuous complex number. What I want, now this is x of n. X of n means for every n there is a value for xn. It may be by a formula for deterministic function or it may be any random values. Say for example, xn equal to a raised to n is a function in which only a needs to be defined. If a is half, in that case x0 is 1, x1 is half, x2 is 1/4, like that. Xn is sin n. Or it may take different values like 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 1, in that manner, or a complex numbers also. So xn is a discrete function of n, wherein it may be a deterministic function in which value of xn is represented by a formula of n, or there may not be any formula relationship. In that case, we need a graphical representation, means every xn needs to be defined. Every xn needs to be defined. So if it is deterministic, in that case, even if n is tending to infinity, xn can be defined by using finite number of coefficients. And if it is non-deterministic, then to define xn completely, you need infinite coefficient. Means what are the coefficients? x0 equal to 1, x1 equal to 5, x3 equal to 6, x4 equal to 7, x5 equal to 3, so when it is fully known, when all values are fully known. So you need infinite coefficients to define a sequence which is not a deterministic sequence. But if it is a deterministic sequence, then you can represent using finite coefficients xn for any n. So xn for any n is known by finite coefficients only, it's a deterministic sequence. If xn for any n it can be known by having infinite coefficients, it is non-deterministic sequence. But in general, xn is a function of n, either may be a deterministic function or a non-deterministic function. Similarly, we want to transform this discrete function into a continuous function. So I have got xn. X of n is a discrete function of n that I want to transform into a continuous function of y. So x of y, this x is capital, this x is small. The difference now here is because it's a discrete function, and so as to distinguish it from this, x of y is a continuous function. So x of n is a discrete function of n. We want to transform this discrete function of n into a continuous function of y. So small xn is discrete function and capital X of y is a continuous function. Then I should have this design of the transform should be such that it should be invertible. So we will try. Now this you cannot invent. You can come up with a new solution also, but or let us give 2-3 minutes for you to think. X of y should be a collective representation of all xn's together. Means you should devise a formula for this. I give you some hint. And something else you have to add. Think for a while. Think for a while, so that from xn you should be able to find out xy. Given x means this is y transform. This is y transform, and this is inverse y transform. So from xn you should be able to compute x of y, and from x of y you should be able to compute x of n. So think for some representation. Use this time for the same purpose. Don't waste the time.
मेमरी कॅप कॉपी करून आला नाही घ्यायचं
मार्फत एवढं विषय मी सांगितलं नाही आठवणच करत नाही कॉपी करायची आणि 2 तास काय होते 1 तास 25 मिनटं होते जरी फॉर्मॅट मारला
अर्धा तास
जरी फॉर्मॅट मारला 1 तास
काय हे काढला हां सर तर म्हणतात कुठली हां ते समेशन काय चालू डोकं चालू कधी तोपर्यंत बसतो जरा हर्षा मोरासकर मेसेज टाका मागं बसून
रेकॉर्डिंग चालू मेमरी संपली
हर्षद आहे हा
टॉकिंग कॅट चालू करत नाही ॲप्स कुठे
अरे ते पॉज कर की
मेमरी घालावायची आहे मला ॲप्स कुठे ॲप्स कुठे हे जो ॲप्स
So any guess?
होमचं बटन दाबून काय
एवढं बोलते साऊंडची बटन
या करायचं आमची
Let's have this. Since it was not possible to allow such time in which you are able to think, find out the transform, then analyze the transform and validate it for its applications, we start with this transform. So x of y is an infinite summation of x of n y raised to minus n. Obviously, here it would be an infinite sum if xn is an infinite sequence. If xn is a finite sequence, it will be a finite sum. If xn is an infinite sequence, but if it's a deterministic sequence, then there is a possibility that we can have this using a formula. So this is the transform. So x of, I again repeat, small x square bracket small n is a discrete function of n. Okay, and capital X conventional bracket small y is a continuous function of y. Is it clear? So x of n is a discrete function and x of y is a continuous function, and we are transforming x of n into x of y. What would be the inverse transform? I leave it up to you to think for a while. You may take it few hours also. So given xn, we can find x of y. Given xn, we can find x of y. That is called as y transform. What are its applications and all that, it will emerge. But we will now work on this for few given sequences. Let us say we have got a simple sequence. The simple most sequence which we can consider is an impulse function. Xn is equal to 1 for n equal to 0 and 0 elsewhere. So there is delta n. Xn is delta n. So if xn is this, what would be x of y?
1
What would be x of y?
1
X of y would be 1. Right? Because it will only contain one term, that is 1, and that time y is 0. So x of y is independent of y here. So if my function is an impulse function, its transform is 1. Its transform is 1. Now, let us have xn is equal to 1 for n greater than 0 or equal to 0 and 0 elsewhere. It is called a unit step function. This is called as delta n. This is called as un. These are some special nomenclatures. So if xn is 1, so find out y transform. Find out y transform if xn is equal to 1. If xn is equal to 1, find out y transform. What will become? N equal to 0 to infinity. X of n is always 1. So it would be y raised to minus n. What is the answer? Y raised to minus n.
GP. A into 1 minus r is to n upon 1 minus r. That sequence is in GP.
Yes, so what is the answer?
Common sequence ratio is y. 1 minus
Common ratio is 1 upon y. Common ratio is 1 upon y or y inverse. Y inverse is the common ratio.
Hey, the bracket must
So what is the answer?
must 1 minus.
What is the answer?
Y upon y minus 1.
Y upon?
Y minus 1.
Because y raised to n.
If common ratio is r, what is the? If common ratio is r, what is the sum of geometric progression?
1 minus r raised to n upon 1 minus r.
Into A.
If common ratio of geometric progression is r, then the sum is
A
Into
into
1 minus
A
what is
into
A?
first term.
First term.
It is 1.
First term is 1. So 1 into
1 minus r
raised to n.
minus
in bracket
1 minus r
raised to n
square.
upon
1 minus
R
r
raised to
raised to
n.
n.
r is to
N.
Divided by 1 minus r. Whole divided by r raised to n.
R is to n.
Whole.
Then we use
Number of terms.
capital N terms, right?
Number of
Upon
1 minus r.
R.
R, correct? It is the expression when R is the common ratio, capital N is the number of terms, and is the first term. Now let us think if it is infinite series. In that case, the answer depends upon whether this will converge or diverge. So if this R is less than 1, if this R is less than 1, as n tends to infinity, it will be 0. So if common ratio is less than 1
Y upon y minus 1.
and the series is infinite, then the answer is
Y
Y upon y minus 1.
y upon y
answer
minus
is
1.
1 upon 1 minus R where R is the common ratio. Answer is
1 upon 1
1
minus.
upon 1 minus R where R is the common ratio. Here the common ratio is Y inverse. So the answer is 1 upon 1 minus Y inverse. Or multiply by Y everywhere, we
Y
get
upon
Y upon
Y minus
Y
1.
minus 1. Either way, if you like, this is better representation. If you say that it is standard representation.
You will get that.
It is different context.
Actually,
But
it can.
it's not the complete answer. Provided that
R is 1 upon y is less than 1. Y is greater than 1.
N
Y is less than
relation.
Y is greater than 1.
what we must have,
Y
Y is greater than 1.
Y is
Greater than 1.
the common ratio is Y inverse. So that must be less than 1. So Y
Y
is
greater than 1.
equal to 1 also will not do.
Infinite.
Now here I will make a small change.
mod y.
Why mod y? Because now y is not a real number, it's a complex number. So its modulus means its
Absolute.
when we are having only real numbers, modulus means we ignore the sign. We are exposed to the concept of modulus when we were only having positive and negative numbers. So mod x how do we do it? If x is positive, mod x equal to x and equal to minus x. But this definition is not complete definition. This definition is only for x being one dimensional on both sides. But x can be complex, x can be in the plane. So in that situation, or y can be in the plane. So if y is outside the plane, means mod y greater than 1. What is mod? The distance of the point
From the origin.
from origin is the modulus. Mod y is distance of point from the origin. And if you take for any y as real number, real part and imaginary part, if you take it two independent parts and by all formula you perform the same exercise, you will come to the same conclusion. So it is converging. So this definition is valid in y greater than 1 and therefore it is called as ROC, region of convergence. Means it is the region in which the function x of y converges to this value. If y is greater than 1 for a given y, there would means we can have mapping. We can have two maps. Y is a complex number, x of y is also a complex number. So you can have two planes. So y here, it will map x of y at one point. And unique, that will be unique mapping. That would be a unique mapping. If y is this, y upon y must be another. But if y is less than 1, then that mapping is not possible. Why? Because it will map to infinity. It will map that those y's which are either here or inside will map x of y to infinity. So that reverse mapping is not possible. Reverse mapping is not possible. Is it clear?
बस हाथ को पटकन आता कैमरे खाली टेकून की
Determine x of y along with region of convergence. Be quick. X of n is half raised to n. The sequence is half raised to n for n greater than or equal to 0, 0 elsewhere. Determine x of y along with region of convergence.
आता 1/2 काय 2 पहिला आता कसं
आता 2:1/2 म्हणजे y इन्व्हर्स घ्यायला पाहिजे वरती y इन्व्हर्स
आता हे सगळे जीपीत आहे ना आणि याचा कॉमन रेशो काय 1/2 आहे म्हणजे काय येणार y अपॉन आणि फर्स्ट टर्म किती येते याची n इक्वल टू 0 असेल तर y हाफ येते हाफ इंटू y अपॉन y मायनस
ती झिरोज घेते वरची झिरोज घेतं
कुठली
ए इंटू 1 मायनस आर एस टू आहे आर एस टू ची टर्म झिरोज
मग घेतली झिरोच घेतली ना ती 1/2y आहे ना कॉमन रेशो
टू आहे पहिली टर्म 1/2
y अपॉन 2y मायनस
बरोबर ते पाटला y अपॉन 2y मायनस 1 बरोबर
y अपॉन 2y मायनस 1
बरोबर आहे बरोबर
y अपॉन 2y मायनस 1
What is the answer?
बरोबर
y अपॉन 2y मायनस 1
Y upon
2y मायनस 1
2y
मायनस 1 मायनस 1
minus 1. Is it okay?
यस
हे हाफ
So it becomes
हाफच आहे बरोबर आहे हाफच आहे
फर्स्ट टर्म n इक्वल टू 0 ला 2y अपॉन 2y मायनस 2y अपॉन 2y आले गाड तू
तुझ्यावर तू मला
हे 12:40 पर्यंत येणार
12-20 झाले आता अजून 20 मिनिटं
मग तुझ्या बाप
common ratio is half y inverse. Common ratio is half y inverse. So the answer is
2y upon 2y minus 1
1
2y.
upon
2
1 minus half y inverse. If you multiply by 2y, if you multiply by 2y, so the answer is
2y upon
2y minus
2y upon
2y minus 1
2y
minus
1
correct 2y upon 2y minus 1 and the common ratio must be
1 upon 2
common ratio must be less than maybe half y inverse must be less than 1 this in the
म्हणजे
provided
y
that
inverse
division of convergence is
लेस दॅन 1 म्हणजे 1 upon y लेस दॅन 0.5 म्हणजे 1 y is less greater than 0.5 y greater than 0.5
division of convergence is
y greater than 0.5
what we must have
y greater than 0.5 mod
2y half y inverse must be
greater than 1
mod must be
Greater
less than 1 that is
हां म्हणजे y greater than
mod y
greater than 0.5
greater than
0.5
mod y greater than 0.5 or mod y greater than half.
बस
Is it all right?
all right
बस
बस
What happened now in this case?
सर राहू दे का 3 upon y कॉमन रेशो 3 upon y फर्स्ट टर्म 3 नाही फर्स्ट टर्म 1 आहे अशा एक गोष्ट लक्षात आली काय तुझ्या त्याच्या इनवर्स होतोय म्हणजे किती सांग काय तुला y upon 3 upon y minus 3 minus 1 म्हटल्यावर हे 3 गेलं y upon y minus 3
Y upon
y minus 3
and ROC?
ROC
Y upon y
3 minus 1 y greater than 3
3y
y greater than 3
y greater than 3.
3 y greater than 3
3 or 1? Y is
greater than mod y greater than 3
3
what we will get?
mod y greater than 3
3y inverse must be
greater than 1
less than means y
greater than 3
y greater than 3
mod y greater than
3
correct?
yes
हे पास की काय कॉन्सेप्ट होणार काही समेशन बिमेशन न मांडताच मी काढलं सगळं आता
ठीक आहे ए इंटू वन ए पण ठीक आहे ए मिळालं की झाला विषय आणि वरची टर्म बाकी झिरो वनच घ्यायची
त्याशिवाय चालतच नाही हो.
मॅपिंग जसं
हा झालं झालं
किडे केले
झालं
करा आता किडे रेस टू एन रेस टू मायनस एन करा आता मग
What happened now?
थांबा एवढी काय गडबड आहे.
आता जी पी पण नाही येत काय करतोस
हा फर्स्ट टर्म 5 येत्या.
जी पी कुठली काय
5 कुठले 2 येते.
जी पी कशी
GP च येत नाही.
तेच सांगावले की जी पीच येत नाही
थांब की मल्टिप्लाय करू घ्या आपण. समेशन डिवाइड हे करू शकतो की आपण
काय
स्प्लिट करू शकतो 2 GP तयार होते.
हां 2 जी पी द्या बरोबर
हे थांब येत नाही तसं.
तसं येते की देखील 3 रेस टू एन म्हणजे
3 raised to n
3 raised to n
Plus-
plus 4 raised to minus n.
बदललं बाई
धराव ते काय होत नाही.
महत्वाची जागी विचार करायचं
फर्स्ट टर्म काय तर 7 येत्या.
3 raised to n
7 कुठे
plus
सात
4 raised to minus n.
2 येतं 2.
अशी काय
आणि 0 0 टाकल्यावर काय 1 1 येते. 1 + 1 2 येत नाही काय.
नाही खरं तसं नाही येणार आहे 2 जी पी घेऊन करायला
हो
केलं
हो बरोबर बरोबर.
3 रेस टू एन तो वायर
3y + 4y raised to minus n. 4y raised to minus n.
जी पी काय ते
हे आपण करू शकतो का स्प्लिट? आय एम डाऊटफुल अबाउट दॅट.
ते की 2 जी पी झाल्यास की
हे थांब हे 3y आहे ह्याच्यात यांचे टर्मच नाही. कामच खेळ
Now you can
बरोबर आहे.
वायर टू
the
मायनस
transform is
मल्टिप्लाय केल्यावर मल्टिप्लाय
Distributive.
असं करलं
Three upon y.
टू मायनस
so if x of n, this you can consider to be x1 of n and x2 of n.
2 जी पी
So what is the answer now?
काढा की
1 is y upon
y मायनस 3
y minus 3
4
plus 4y upon
4y मायनस 3
4y minus 1.
3
No, what 3? It should be 1.
1 आहे का
But the problem now is for this to converge, mod y must be
डिफरंट
greater than 3, and for this to converge,
Mod y must be greater than
1/4
1/4.
it should be greater than or less than.
Greater than 1/4.
greater than 1/4
Yeah. So of these two, what you will consider?
दोघांचं
So,
कॉमन घ्यायचं
which is stricter of these two?
हां
Which is stricter of these two? That would be region of convergence.
y
Stricter
greater
of these
than
two
3.
will be acting as a region of convergence.
Y greater
y
than
greater than
3.
So y mod y greater than
3.
3 would be region of convergence.